8 animals in Kansas so dangerous, even experts ain't gonna go near them. So you're in Wichita, Kansas, May of 2021. A homeowner named Christine Boyle pulls up the footage on her Ring doorbell and finds a full-grown mountain lion walking between her house in the middle of the night, calm as a stray dog looking for a place to lay down. The animal didn't hurt nobody and didn't come back. The Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks confirmed it was real. It was not AI. It also added to it that a running count that's now north of 100 confirmed sightings since 2007. Everybody moved on with their week. That's the kind of Kansas wildlife story that makes the news, because a big cat on a porch camera makes a great picture, but it isn't the kind of Kansas wildlife story that puts people in the hospital. The animals that put Kansas in the hospital don't stroll through the porch light. Some of them so small you never see them land on you. Others are already sitting on your basement counter or your corner. And the ones with real teeth are lying still in the grass 6 feet off a walkway trail while you go by talking on the phone. And the reason you didn't get hit is because they didn't decide to hit you today. I'm Mr. V, and this is the Untamed Lens. Tonight, 8 animals in Kansas so dangerous that people who actually study them for a living put on gloves, boots, and a tick check before they walk into the field. Number 8, the common snapping turtle. Ain't so common when it's snapping. You're driving a back road in Douglas County, Kansas on a warm June morning. Corn coming up on one side, a low ditch on the other. Something dark is setting on the yellow line, big, flat, about the size of a serving platter, and it isn't moving. You slow down and you figure it's a rock, and then the rock lifts its head about 6 inches off the pavement and looks at you. Common snapping turtles live in every county in Kansas, in every muddy creek and farm pond and slow river in the state. In the water, they leave you alone. They'll slide off a log and disappear before you get close. On land, it's a different animal. Nesting females haul themselves out into the roads and yards from late May through June. And the way a snapping turtle handles being noticed on land is to plant its feet, open its mouth, and lunge. Did I get you? Lunge. That beak is sharp enough to tear through a thick stick, and it's mounted on a neck longer than the shell is wide. Y'all remember that? Which means the animal can bite you when you think you're behind it. Kansas City officials tell people flatly not to pick one up. A common snapper on the road looks slow, and it isn't. Its head comes off its shell like a spring-loaded punch. That one is docile in the water and mean on the road. Sort of like, my neighbor's kid who likes to drive. He's mean on the road. Now the next one's docile until you step on it. And by then, the venom is already in you. Number 7, the Copperhead. You're walking on your own creek in eastern Kansas. Boots on, kid a few steps ahead of you, kicking rocks. A fallen log across the water, and the kid climbs up on it before he can say anything. Sitting curled against the log in a patch of dead leaves that match the color almost exactly is a snake shaped like a series of Hershey kisses somebody laid out end to end. Nobody hears it because it don't rattle. The Copperhead is one of the 6 venomous snakes the Kansas Poison Center warns people about. And it can make its home in the eastern third of the state. Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks puts it in wooded ravines along rocky creeks and up against county or country properties. It puts more Americans in the ER, emergency room, than any other venomous snake in the country. Around 2,900 bites a year in the United States. And its whole way of dealing with a person is to freeze and let you step on it. The venom destroys the tissue right where it lands. The emergency room at Villa Crista in Wichita has published a case series of snake bites that they treated. And the average patient there needed around 10 vials of antivenom to hold the damage back. A copperhead doesn't warn you there. It's the whole strategy. It looks like the ground. Now, if this is your kind of Kansas, the kind where the porch light's on and something is watching you from the yard, go ahead and hit that like button and get subscribed, because that's what we do around here every single week. Now stay with me, because one of the next 6 could be sitting on your neck right now without you knowing it. It ain't this one though. This is number 6, the Western Massasauga rattlesnake. You're out in the Flint Hills of Kansas on a spring hike. The tall grass just starting to come up, sun on the back of your neck. Coming around a rock ledge, there's a small snake at your feet. Maybe it's 2 foot long, thick for its length, patterned in dark brown blotches on a lighter body. You'd to be right on top of it to see it. Its tail is buzzing, but the buzz is faint, softer than a big rattler, easy to mistake for a bug. Fort Hays State University's Kansas Snake Atlas classifies the Western Massasauga as dangerously venomous, and it lives across much of eastern Kansas in prairie country and open wetlands. The Flint Hills and Cheyenne Bottoms are 2 of the strongholds. It's the smallest rattlesnake in the state, and everything about it is built to be missed. It'll freeze and try to blend in before it moves. The venom works on tissue and the nervous system at the same time, which puts it in a whole different category than the copperhead, even though the amount it delivers is smaller. A big rattlesnake announces itself. The Massasauga barely bothers because it expects you to walk on past it. That one is a rattler that whispers. The next one is a rattler you can hear from 20 feet away, and it's twice that size. Number 5, you knew it was coming, the timber rattlesnake. You're clearing brush. That's the first thing you got to not do at the edge of your property, because it's too hot to do that right now. You're in southern Kansas on a July afternoon. Thick woods behind the yard, a wood pile you haven't touched since spring, when you reach into it to grab a piece of split oak. Something inside that pile shifts and it rattles. And the rattle's pretty loud. A hard, dry buzz that fills the whole space between you and the trees, and it don't stop. The timber rattlesnake is the biggest venomous snake in Kansas. It lives in the wooded, rocky country in the eastern part of the state. Now, adults run 3 to 5 foot long, sometimes bigger, and the venom is the tissue-destroying kind, and the animal can deliver a lot of it in one bite because the body is heavy and the fangs are long. Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks listed as one of the state's 6 venomous species, right up there with the copperhead and the other one. A timber rattler is generally slow to strike and gives plenty of warning first, which means most bites in Kansas happen when somebody didn't hear the warning, or they just dumbasses, or they raced into a place they couldn't see into, or they stepped over a log that had one snake on the other side of it. The rattle's not a threat. It actually kind of is. It make your heart race. It's also a courtesy. When the buzzing quits and the snake goes flat against the ground, that's when you have a problem. That one is a snake that gives you a warning. The next one weighs 2,000 pounds. It ain't a snake, and it does not give you a warning. That's number 4 in Kansas, the American bison, buffaloes. You're walking on a walking trail in Konza, Prairie, south of Manhattan, Kansas. One of the research stations Kansas City University runs out in the Flint Hills. There's a warning sign at the trailhead that you read on the way in, and your car is 200 yards behind you. A group of bison that were 400 yards off when you started had decided the trail is the way they wanted to go, and they're going that way. The bison is a Kansas City state animal, and the herd at Konza run around 280 head, kept in a fenced enclosure that covers 2,433 acres. That's not a fence you can lean against and take a picture. The station's own safety page tells visitors flat out that these bison have damaged vehicles and chased researchers up trees, and warns that females with young calves in the spring and summer are especially dangerous, and so are the bulls in late summer and fall during the rut. A big bull can hit 2,000 pounds, and it runs 35 miles an hour. That's a fully loaded pickup at highway speed, aimed at you with horns on the front and a bad mood at the back. Nationally, bison put more people in the emergency room at Yellowstone than any other animal in the park, which is not Kansas, but Kansas depends if the wind's blowing too much where you're going to end, right, Dorothy? Well, the animals in the pasture at Konza are the same animal. They're calmer around researchers because they see people every day, right up until they aren't. That one hits you like a truck. The next one, you'll never feel laying. Number 3, the brown recluse spider. That's that one right there, right? I don't know. You're pulling a pair of jeans off the floor of your bedroom in Wichita. Jeans have been sitting there overnight, and you shake them once and you put your leg in. Nothing bites you at first. About an hour later, there's a spot on your calf that starts to itch and burn. By the next morning, that spot is a hole. The brown recluse is the most common dangerous spider in Kansas, and the Wildlife Diversity Coordinator at Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, Darren Riddle, has told reporters plainly that the animal lives in pretty much every home in the state. Every home. It's a small, tan spider with a violin shape on its back, and its whole business is being left alone in dark, cluttered places. Closets, wood piles, behind boxes, inside the pair of shoes you kicked off last week. The bite delivers venom that breaks down tissue from the inside, and it's often painless when it happens. What comes after ain't painless. A bad case turns into an open wound where the flesh keeps dying. And it can take months to heal and sometimes need skin grafts to close. There's no other animal in this state that lives inside their own home in these numbers that this one does. You're not walking past its home, you're sitting in it. That one bites you inside your own house. The next one bites you outside your house, and it's already gone before you feel it. Number 2, hopefully he stays out of your house, is the mosquito. You're standing in your own backyard in Sedgwick County, Kansas on an August evening drilling. My favorite thing. The kids are running the sprinkler, the sun is dropping, and there's a little bit of standing water in a bucket by the shed you forgot about, and that has rained since, got rainwater in it since last week. Something the size of a piece of pepper lands on your forearm, and you brush it without even thinking about it. I hate that things. Then it takes off and you don't feel a thing. 5 minutes later, you don't even remember it. The mosquito that carries West Nile virus in Kansas are the kind that hunt at dawn and dusk. In the Kansas Department of Health and Environmental, they track them every summer on a dashboard that updates every Friday from July through September. Last year, the state counted 37 human cases of West Nile virus. 26 of them the serious kind that gets into the brain and the spinal cord, and they recorded 1 death. The year before, in 2024, is 64 cases and 4 deaths. Peak transmission runs August to September, which is, right now. There's no vaccine, and there's no cure. The treatment is oxygen and fluids and hoping. The mosquito puts more Kansians in the hospital every summer than every snake on this list combined will do in 10 years. It doesn't ambush you or stalk you. It hums past your ear. I know you hear it right now, don't you? And you don't even notice it, except who doesn't notice it? That one you never feel. The next one you might feel hours later, but by then the damage is already done, and the bill it hands you can last the rest of your life. Number 1, y'all better check yourself. The Lone Star tick. It ain't in Texas, it's in Kansas too. Removing your own pasture, or you're mowing your pasture in Fort Scott, Kansas on a late spring afternoon. Tall grass along the fence line. When you finish and you pull off your shirt in the mud room, there's a small brown dot on your shoulder. A female tick with a single white spot on her back, sucking your blood, just feeding. You pull her off and wash the spot, and you don't think about it again, which you really do need to think about it. And don't pull it off like that. But the Lone Star tick carries 1 white dot on her back, and Kansas is the country the animals love. Brush your pasture, there's deer everywhere, there's hot summers. She latches on and feeds for hours, and While she does so, she can pass at least half a dozen things to a person can die from or they could die from or live sick with for years. Among them, a blood infection they called, all kinds of stuff, bacteria disease, you get a heartland virus that has no treatment, and there's a virus so new the Centers for Disease Control had to name it after the Kansas City county it turned up in. Bourbon virus isolated in 2014 after a man named John Seasted from Fort Scott, Kansas, previously healthy. He worked outside on his own property, pulled a big old tick off of his shoulder, and he died 11 days later in the hospital in Kansas City of organ failure. There ain't no antibiotic, and ain't no vaccine. In June of 2026, a second confirmed Bourbon virus death was reported out of Long Island, in a case linked back to a Lone Star tick, because the tick's range is spreading east. And the last thing this one hands you, well, the animal is also the reason a growing number of Kansans can never eat red meat again. Its saliva carries a sugar called alpha-gal. Once that gets into a person, the immune system starts producing antibiotics against it, and beef, pork, and lamb start triggering an allergic reaction hours after a meal. Now, if that were to happen to me, I think I'd have to have an allergic reaction after a meal almost like every day. Now, the Center of Disease Control estimates as many as 450,000 Americans may already have it. I know I don't. And the Lone Star tick is the main way people get it in this country. Kansas experts study this animal in the field with their shirts tucked in and their pants sprayed with tick repellent. And they still check each other at the end of the day. Sort of like that song where I want to check you for ticks. You know, that's what you'd say to, the opposite sex. It's the smallest animal on this list, and it's got the longest bill. Now, if you like this episode, go ahead and give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss the next episode of The Untamed Lens. I'm Mr. V, and I'll see you on the next one.